The world is not run by the hardest working men. It is run by the men who know how to make others move. That is the truth most ambitious men refuse to accept because it offends their sense of fairness. You were told effort would be enough. Work hard, be honest, be loyal, stay patient, keep proving yourself. But psychology, politics, business, and every room you have ever been ignored in all reveal the same law. People do not respond to value alone. They respond to value that is framed. One mechanism makes people like you more after doing you a small favor. Another makes a competent man more likable after revealing one harmless flaw. Another makes people chase what feels restricted, even when they did not want it before. So here is the question no one wants to answer. Why do some men make others move without begging, without arguing, without explaining, and without looking desperate? There are 7 traps behind it, not tricks, not cheap manipulation. Mechanisms. And if you do not understand them, you will spend your life being useful to men who do. The first law is simple. People do not resist influence. They resist the feeling of being influenced. The moment someone feels your hand pushing their mind, their ego prepares for war. They may agree with your logic. They may understand your point. They may even know you are right. But if your approach makes them feel controlled, they will resist just to prove they are free. That is why weak men over-explain. They think if they add more words, more emotion, more proof, more pain, the other person will finally understand. But the room does not reward the man who explains the most. It rewards the man who frames reality before the argument begins. Trap 1, the forbidden door. Tell a man he cannot have something, and you have not killed his desire. You have sharpened it. This is the forbidden door. In psychology, this is connected to psychological reactance. Jack Brem's theory explains that when people feel a freedom has been threatened or removed, they become motivated to restore it. In plain language, when someone feels controlled, they push back. This is why direct pressure often creates the opposite of what you want. Tell someone, you need to respect me, and you look small. Tell someone, you must listen to me, and their ego prepares for resistance. Tell someone, you should support me, and they hear, I am trying to make you responsible for my rise. Now the cost becomes clear. Every time you push too directly, you awaken the part of them that wants to prove it is free. This is why unsupported men lose power when they explain too much. They believe they are creating understanding. In reality, they are often triggering resistance. A man who is starving for validation speaks from hunger. He tries to prove his worth before anyone has asked to see it. He gives access too easily. He reveals his whole plan too early. He gives his time to people who have not earned it. Then he wonders why they treat his presence like background noise. The stronger move is not to force the door open. The stronger move is to make the door look limited. Not everyone gets access. Not everyone gets your time. Not everyone gets your full plan. Not everyone gets the deeper version of you. Scarcity creates attention because humans assign value to what is not freely available. If something is always there, always open, always waiting, the mind stops treating it as valuable. It becomes furniture. It becomes air. It becomes a resource. People notice only when it disappears. This applies to your time, your advice, your presence, your emotional energy, your loyalty, and your ambition. If you answer every call, tolerate every delay, explain every disrespect, and keep showing up for people who give nothing back, you are not being noble. You are teaching them that access to you has no price. The payoff is brutal. If you are always available, people do not experience your presence as value. They experience it as background. The man waiting to be chosen tries to become more available. The man who understands power becomes more selective. That is the shift. Stop acting like a man begging for entry. Start acting like a man whose access must be earned. But scarcity alone is not enough. Desire can make people curious, but curiosity does not always create loyalty. Someone may want the forbidden door and still have no reason to invest in you. So the deeper question is colder. How do you make someone become invested before they even like you? Trap 2. The small favor. Most men think people help you because they like you. Sometimes the reverse is true. They begin to like you because they helped you. This is the Ben Franklin effect. In 1969, researchers John Jecker and David Landy published a study called Liking a Person as a Function of Doing Him a Favor. The finding is commonly associated with the idea that doing someone a favor can increase liking toward that person because the mind tries to resolve a contradiction. The contradiction is this: I helped him, but I do not like him. The mind dislikes that tension, so it looks for a cleaner explanation. Maybe I helped him because I respect him. Maybe I helped him because he is worth helping. Maybe I see something in him. That is the trap. The action comes first. The attitude follows. This is why a small favor can be more powerful than a big speech. A speech asks someone to believe in you before they have invested anything. A small favor makes them cross a line. Ask for one opinion. Ask for one recommendation. Ask for one small piece of advice. Ask for something easy enough to grant, but meaningful enough to create psychological investment. Then execute well. That part matters. Do not waste the favor. If a man gives you advice and you do nothing with it, you confirm you are not worth investment. You become another weak man collecting words because he lacks discipline. But if he gives you one piece of advice, and you return with evidence that you used it, his ego becomes attached to your rise. Now your progress validates his judgment. He is no longer just watching you. He is watching proof that his investment was intelligent. This is how cold attention becomes warm commitment. The unsupported man must understand this deeply. Do not ask people to save you. That makes you look like a burden. Ask for precision. Then turn that precision into proof. There is a massive difference between saying, "Can you help me become successful?" and saying, "I respect your eye for positioning. What is one thing you would change about how I present my work?" The first request smells like need. The second request gives the other person status, invites judgment, and creates investment. But once they give you the answer, you must move. You must return with evidence. You must show that their input became action. That is where most men fail. They collect advice to feel less alone. Strategic men use advice to create psychological ownership. The payoff is simple. People protect what they have invested in. When someone gives you time, advice, reputation, access, or attention, a small part of them wants that investment to mean something. Your job is not to beg for support. Your job is to create controlled investment. Then make that investment look intelligent. If you are serious about applying this beyond theory, and you want the unfiltered breakdowns I do not put on public videos, join the Patreon. Most men watch endlessly and still move the same. Inside Patreon, the work is sharper, colder, and more direct. If you keep consuming without executing, you will stay entertained and unchanged. The decision is yours. Now understand the next level. A favor makes them invest in you. But there is something stronger than making someone invest in you. You can make them invest in the idea itself. And once they believe the idea belongs to them, they will defend it harder than they would ever defend you. Trap 3. The stolen idea. The strongest idea is not the one you give someone. It is the one they believe they discovered. This is the stolen idea. You do not say, Here is what you should think. You place 3 points in front of them and let their ego draw the line. Because when a person reaches a conclusion by himself, he does not feel persuaded. He feels intelligent. And people will defend their intelligence even when they will not defend the truth. This is where most men fail. They give the conclusion too early. They say, "You should hire me." They say, "You should respect me." They say, "You should trust me." They say, "You should believe in my vision." But every "should" sounds like pressure. And pressure makes the ego suspicious. A more dangerous man does not give the conclusion first. He gives evidence. He creates association. He controls the frame. This is why you can lose a room even when you are right. You force people to accept your conclusion before they had the emotional experience of reaching it themselves. Edward Bernays understood this with surgical precision. In 1929, he was hired to help break the social taboo around women smoking in public. At the time, public smoking by women was often treated as improper. A direct advertisement saying women should smoke would have been resisted. It would have looked crude, commercial, and socially aggressive. So Bernays changed the frame. During New York's Easter parade, he arranged for women to publicly light cigarettes and connected the act to the phrase, "torches of freedom." The cigarette was no longer framed merely as a product. It became rebellion. It became independence. It became social liberation. Historical accounts describe the stunt as one of the iconic moments in early public relations, though later scholarship also warns that the campaign's impact is sometimes overstated. That warning matters because strategic men do not need myths, they need mechanisms, and the mechanism is still lethal. Bernays did not sell the object. He sold the identity attached to the object. People resist being sold, but they move when the action feels like self-expression. That is frame control. You do not push the target toward your conclusion. You make your conclusion feel like the natural expression of who they already want to be. This is why people buy things they do not need. This is why people defend opinions they did not originate. This is why people chase status symbols while calling it personal taste. They are not always choosing the object. They are choosing the identity the object promises. Now bring this down to your own life. Do not tell people you are disciplined. Create enough visible evidence that discipline becomes the only reasonable explanation. Do not tell people you are valuable. Build proof until ignoring you makes them look careless. Do not tell people you are different. Move differently long enough that they are forced to update the category they placed you in. A weak man argues with the label people gave him. A strategic man makes the label impossible to keep. He does not say, "You are wrong about me." He becomes so visibly precise, useful, composed, and consistent that the old interpretation starts to look stupid. That is how you steal the idea. You let them arrive at the conclusion you wanted them to reach. Then their ego protects it because now it feels like theirs. The payoff is cold. The ego defends what it thinks it owns. If you force your idea into someone's mind, they inspect it like an intruder. If they believe they discovered it, they protect it like property. That is why influence begins before the request, before the pitch, before the argument, before the demand. Before you open your mouth, the frame is already being built. But there is a danger here. If you appear too powerful too quickly, people resist you. If you look too flawless, they distrust you. If you display too much strength before they feel safe around you, their ego starts looking for a weakness to attack. So the next trap is not about showing more strength. It is about hiding just enough of it. Trap 4. The controlled weakness. Weakness destroys a weak man. But controlled weakness can disarm resistance against a strong one. This is the trap most men misunderstand, because they confuse being powerful with looking flawless, never uncertain, never imperfect, never human. They think if they reveal one crack, people will lose respect. So they overcorrect. They try to appear invincible in every conversation. They correct every small mistake. They dominate every exchange. They hide every limitation. They perform strength until the performance starts to smell like insecurity. But perfection creates distance, and distance creates suspicion. The human mind does not always trust the man who looks untouchable. It studies him. It waits for the hidden weakness. It looks for the lie beneath the surface. The pratfall effect gives this a psychological foundation. In a classic study from 1966, Elliot Aronson, Ben Williman, and Joanne Floyd found that a small mistake increased the attractiveness of a highly competent person, while the same mistake hurt the perception of an average person. That condition matters. The mistake helped only when competence was already established. A small flaw in a strong man makes him approachable. A small flaw in an average man confirms he is average. This is why controlled weakness is not permission to be sloppy. It is not an excuse to be emotional, undisciplined, unreliable, or mediocre. If you have no competence, weakness does not make you human. It makes you dismissible. But if you have already proven ability, a harmless flaw lowers resistance. It makes people feel safer around your strength. This is why the strategic man does not always display full force. He does not need to dominate every conversation. He does not need to correct every error. He does not need to win every small exchange. He saves force for moments that matter. There is a kind of man who has been doubted for so long that he walks into every room ready to prove himself. He hears disrespect where there is only uncertainty. He hears challenge where there is only curiosity. He cannot let one comment pass. He cannot let one person misunderstand him. He feels that if he does not show everything now, they will never know what he is capable of. That hunger is dangerous. It makes him overperform, over-explain, over-display, overreact. And when a man tries too hard to look powerful, people smell the wound underneath. They may not say it directly, but they feel it. The performance reveals the hunger. The hunger reveals the insecurity. The insecurity makes the power look borrowed. Controlled weakness is different. It is the ability to reveal something harmless while keeping the core protected. You can admit you are still improving a skill without making yourself look incompetent. You can laugh at a small mistake without surrendering your authority. You can say, "I had to learn that the hard way," without begging for pity. You can let someone win a small exchange because you are not emotionally dependent on every tiny victory. This is not weakness. This is command. Because the man who must appear strong at every second is not free. He is controlled by the fear of being seen as weak. The man who can reveal a harmless imperfection without collapsing has already proven something deeper. He is not begging the room to believe in his strength. He owns it quietly. The payoff is this: strength shown too early becomes a threat. Strength concealed until necessary becomes authority. The shift is simple. You do not need to look powerful every second. You need to be powerful when the cost of being underestimated arrives. But once resistance is lowered, another trap becomes possible. Because sometimes the most effective way to win is to let the other person feel like the winner. Trap 5. The gifted victory. People do not want to be persuaded. They want to feel victorious. That is the 5th trap. The gifted victory. A man who needs credit will often lose the outcome. A man who can surrender credit can own the result. This is one of the hardest lessons for ambitious men, because ambition wants recognition. It wants the room to know. It wants the record to show. I was right. I saw it first. This was my idea. But needing credit is often just validation, hunger wearing expensive clothing. The professional negotiator understands this. He builds a concession into the original ask. He asks for more than he needs, not because he is foolish, but because he understands the ego of the other side. If he needs 15, he may open at 20. The other side fights him down. They feel resistance. They feel control. They feel victory. They walk away thinking, "We got him to move." But he walks away with the number he came for. Both sides feel victorious. Only one side understood the architecture. This is not only in negotiation. This happens in workplace politics, business partnerships, leadership, family dynamics, and every room where ego hides behind logic. The naive man says, "This was my idea." The strategic man lets the decision-maker feel ownership, while quietly ensuring the final decision moves in his direction. The naive man needs applause immediately. The strategic man asks a colder question. Do I want credit right now, or do I want the outcome? Sometimes credit is useful. Sometimes credit is necessary. Sometimes you must attach your name to the result because invisibility can become exploitation. But sometimes credit is bait. Sometimes the more you demand to be seen, the more resistance you create. Sometimes saying, "I was right," makes the other person more committed to proving you wrong. This is where many ambitious men sabotage themselves. They do the hard work. They see the correct move. They push the room toward it. But at the final moment, they cannot resist claiming victory too early. They need the emotional reward. They need the recognition. They need everyone to know they were the reason. And because they need that recognition, they awaken resistance in the people whose cooperation they still need. The ego stops scrutinizing once it feels it has won. That is the mechanism. When someone feels defeated, they inspect every detail. When someone feels respected, they relax. When someone feels like the decision was theirs, they defend it. So give them a victory that costs you nothing and buys you the outcome. Let them adjust the wording. Let them choose between two options you already accept. Let them feel they improved the plan. Let them believe they corrected the direction when the direction was already inside your frame. Power is not always being seen holding the lever. Power is knowing the lever moved because of you. This is not about becoming invisible forever. It is about knowing when visibility increases power and when it threatens the result. A weak man needs every move witnessed. A strategic man can wait for the scoreboard. The payoff is simple. The ego stops resisting when it feels it has won. The shift is colder. Stop needing applause for every move. The room does not need to know your hand touched the lever. The outcome needs to move. But the gifted victory still requires timing. Move too soon and you look needy. Ask too early and you look desperate. Reveal your need before your value and you lower your own price. So the sixth trap is about restraint. Trap 6, the delayed. Ask, the fastest way to lower your value is to reveal your need before you reveal your proof. This is the delayed ask. Most men ask too early. They ask before trust, before evidence, before leverage, before curiosity, before the other side has any reason to care. Then they feel rejected and call the world unfair. But the problem was not always the ask. The problem was the timing. A request made before value is visible feels like a burden. A request made after value is proven feels like an opportunity. This applies to money, to business, to networking, to leadership, to respect. If you ask too early, you are selling potential. If you wait too long, you may miss the opening. But if you build tension first, your ask lands inside a frame of value. This is why visible proof matters. A man with no results asking for trust sounds like a dreamer. A man with proof asking for access sounds like leverage. The unsupported man must burn this into his skull. The world does not reward what you survived. It rewards what you can demonstrate. Your pain may explain you. It does not price you. Your effort may exhaust you. It does not automatically position you. Your ambition may be real. But until it becomes visible, the world treats it like theory. This is where many men get bitter. They believe their suffering should create automatic respect. They believe loyalty should be noticed. They believe effort should speak for itself. They believe the world should investigate their depth. It will not. The world is busy. The market is brutal. People are distracted. Rooms move fast. Most people do not study your hidden sacrifice. They respond to signals, proof, positioning, and timing. That does not mean substance is useless. It means substance must be made visible. The delayed ask is not silence. It is preparation. You build the proof before the request. You create evidence before the pitch. You let your results perform the first half of the persuasion. Then when the ask comes, it does not feel like pressure. It feels like the next rational step. Do not ask a mentor to believe in you before you have shown discipline. Show discipline first. Do not ask a client to trust your promise before you have shown outcomes. Show outcomes first. Do not ask a room to respect your ambition before you have created visible standards. Show standards first. Do not ask people to treat you differently while you still present yourself the same way. Change the evidence first. Then ask from leverage. There is a line often attributed to Machiavelli: everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. Whether in politics, business, or private life, the lesson is merciless. People respond first to appearance, proof, and signals. Only later, if you earn their attention, do they investigate depth. So if your depth has no visible form, it may as well not exist to them. That is not fair. But power does not begin when you complain about fairness. Power begins when you understand the rules and stop bleeding energy into resentment. If you are serious about building that level of discipline, and you want the material too direct for the public feed, join the Patreon. If you keep watching content but never change your timing, your proof, or your standards, you will stay informed and still remain in the same place. Inside Patreon, the work is built for men who execute. The decision is yours. The payoff is this: delay the ask until your proof has done the first half of the persuasion. The shift is clear. You are not a man begging for a chance. You are a man building enough pressure that the chance becomes rational. And this opens the final trap. Because the highest form of influence is not asking late. It is becoming so visibly undeniable that asking becomes unnecessary. Trap 7. The silent proof. The final trap is the one unsupported men need most. Silent proof, not silent suffering, not quiet resentment, not disappearing and calling it discipline. Silent proof means building evidence so strong that your words become secondary. The world does not respect invisible struggle. It respects visible leverage. This is why the skilled man nobody notices stays trapped. He may be talented, he may be loyal, he may work harder than everyone around him. But if his value is not packaged, displayed, documented, or connected to outcomes, the market behaves as if it does not exist. Hidden value is often treated as non-existent value. That is why the man with less talent but better positioning moves ahead. He understands signals. He understands framing. He understands proof. He understands that people decide your value before they understand your story. And that is the final insult to the hard-working man. The world may never investigate your depth if your surface gives it no reason to look. So, build proof. Document results. Create visible signals of competence. Show your work. Track your wins. Improve your body. Control your time. Build a portfolio. Negotiate with evidence. Speak less about what you will become and show more of what you have already built. A man who only talks about ambition is asking people to imagine his future. A man with proof forces them to confront his present. This is the difference between hope and leverage. Hope says, one day they will see. Leverage says, they cannot ignore what is in front of them. Silent proof does not mean you never speak. It means when you speak, your words stand on evidence. It means your claims are backed by receipts. It means your confidence is not theater. It is documentation. The unsupported man must stop confusing privacy with power. There is nothing noble about being excellent in secret if that secrecy keeps you trapped under men with less ability and better framing. Effort is private. Proof is public. Effort makes you tired. Proof makes you dangerous. The payoff is this. Proof is influence that does not need permission. The shift is painful but freeing. You are not ignored because the world hates you. You are ignored because your value has not become impossible to dismiss. That can change, but only if you stop treating effort as enough. Now look at the 7 traps together. The forbidden door makes people want what feels limited. The small favor makes them invest before they fully understand why. The stolen idea makes their ego defend the conclusion. The controlled weakness lowers resistance without sacrificing competence. The gifted victory lets them feel they won while you keep the outcome. The delayed ask protects your value from premature rejection. The silent proof makes your worth harder to ignore than your words ever could. This is the hierarchy. The goal is not to become a cheap manipulator. Cheap manipulators need tricks because they lack substance. The goal is to become a man who understands how humans move. Because if you do not understand these traps, you will not only fail to use them, you will be ruled by them. You will chase forbidden doors built by other men. You will invest in people who know how to extract your effort. You will defend ideas that were planted in you. You will mistake controlled weakness for honesty and hidden strength for harmlessness. You will give others victory while losing the outcome. You will ask too early and call rejection proof that you are not enough. You will work silently for years and wonder why no one noticed. That is the price of naivety, not just being ignored. Being useful to someone else's frame. So here is the command. Stop begging to be understood. Stop asking the world to reward hidden value. Stop believing hard work alone makes people listen. Hard work is the material. Influence is the architecture. Proof is the weapon. Frame is the battlefield. And the unsupported man has no excuse to remain naive. No support, no network, no one coming to save you. Good. That means no one owns your rise. Build proof. Control access. Plant evidence. Delay the ask. Let them feel the choice. Because power does not live in asking. Power lives in making the other person choose the direction you already prepared. And if you cannot frame your value, someone else will price it for you.